Hello there, welcome to the holiday edition of News Desk. I'm Noella Karinyali. Coming up, it's day 2 of the Democracy Hub protest to force President Mahama to end Galamsey. On day 1, the protesters stormed Jubilee House in a vigil, accusing his government of empty promises and dangerous flip-flops.
If we drink the Galamsey water, we will die, and I'm afraid to die. I don't want to die. I'm too young to die. So please, Galamsey should stop. Stop Galamsey now. Stop Galamsey now. Save and protect the children. We are dying. Stop Galamsey now.
Also, opposition New Patriotic Party asked governing National Democratic Congress to give fresh alternatives to combat illegal mining.
We are begging, pleading, and appealing to the President and the NDC government that we beg him he should prioritize our lives and the environment over money, and that we are not interested in how much money he is getting from these criminals. If you want to move away from the data to how these things can be proven with the impact, that is where we are standing now.
We also have a conversation with Kwesi Kwarteng, who speaks for Ken Agyapong on a myriad of issues. All these and more, plus some business updates right here on our desk. Stay with us. We are independent, fearless, and credible. You're welcome back to the program. Now, it's day 2 of Democracy Hub protest on illegal mining. The group gathered at Shiashi earlier today to continue its march to the Jubilee House. They once saw a display of placards for children speaking of poisoned water while demanding urgent action from President John Dramani Mahama on the growing menace of illegal mining. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante is covering this for us and joins us with some live updates. Kweku, you're welcome to the program. What can you report?
So it's the march by Fix the Country and Democracy Hub. They are protesting against illegal mining, and they say that the government, despite being relatively new in office, do not appear to be doing enough to combat the menace of illegal mining. And so they've organized a 2-day protest to drum home the demand and the call on government to take decisive actions. It started yesterday with a picket and a vigil at the Revolution Square opposite Jubilee House yesterday, and I was there from about 3 p.m. up until about midnight. They stood there, spoke in turns, and spoke about what they believe ought to be done by the government when it comes to the fight against illegal mining. They screened documentaries by our own Erastus Asari Donko and a couple of documentaries that have all been made against the illegal mining scourge. And so that concluded. Yesterday was quite uneventful until Deputy Director of Operations at the Jubilee House, Mustafa Bande, tried to convince the protesters to disperse because, in his opinion, they could have used other mediums to have a conversation with government because they believe that the government is already doing quite enough when it comes to the fight against illegal mining. But that did not happen because the protesters insisted that they were going to be out there and their voices were going to be heard, and that they did. And so yesterday's vigil concluded after midnight, and today it's about 10 a.m. now. They are continuing with a protest march. This is Spanner Junction, Akramo. They are going to walk from here to Jubilee House, where they will present a petition. Who, any moment from now, speak to some of the very key people who are here to get an understanding of the major things they're going to do. They just had some water over here, and so it tells you that they have the energy and ready to go out there and move. And then really make the voices heard. Of course, the numbers isn't that huge. And yesterday was part of the things they spoke about, that young people must know that when it comes to marches of illegal mining, it affects all of them. They expect that these people will be out here joining them to protest against illegal mining. They haven't quite seen that. But today you see a couple of people, known faces, of Fix the Country. You see there Oliver Bakavoma and a number of people who are already getting ready for today's march to happen. We'll speak to some of them pretty shortly, get an understanding of what today's program is going to be like, and ultimately we can get an understanding of what is going to happen. And so we'll speak to them pretty shortly. And so a couple of those things are all going to be done here. And this is what is going to happen. We'll get into the specifics of how this protest is going to go today. You see here a number of police officers already here and getting ready for this protest to happen. Let me see if I can stick to Oliver Bakovoma. Yesterday, you just came right from the airport and you joined the vigil. How did yesterday's vigil go for you?
I don't know why. Yesterday I was so excited. It was refreshing to be back again on the street. It was refreshing to see colleagues who had a year proud being arrested, kept in jail, to find each other again. It felt like family, and I was very happy to be able to join colleagues and raise their awareness about this issue.
So what is going to happen today from here to Jubilee House? What exactly is the plan?
So the thinking is, we always say that the protest is explained as we're moving from point A to point B. That's it. It's a walk, but it's the most significant walk you can endeavor on. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to walk, and that's what we're going to be doing, raising attention to the issues that we've been talking about consistently. Will you present a petition at Jubilee House? Oh no!
Because I know you have been averse to presenting petitions in the past protests.
We don't do petitions. I think that our petition, our voice on the street, those who want to understand the issue can join us. We've been writing and talking about this issue consistently. That the positions are clear enough, and so we don't perform.
Yesterday, before you arrived, Mustafa Bande had come in to try and convince the protesters to disperse because he believes that there will be other avenues to communicate with government. What do you make of that? And there was, of course, some rebuffs from certain elements within the government telling him that should not have happened. What did you make of that?
Listen, I think for me the most important thing is the shifts that we have seen over the past few weeks. We fought for almost 4 years about the citizens' right to petition their seat of government, to stand there and raise their voices. We've seen that. Now nobody was raising any concerns. The president is out of the country. It's a different change of environment. So if today what we are contending with is a government official coming to tell people stop it, I think that we've made progress. Maybe tomorrow they will understand and join the protest, but I think the progress is being made.
The protest is about to start. And let me ask you one last question. Yesterday, some of your colleagues spoke about how young people do not feel the urgency with this. Some of them are not coming out in terms of the numbers. If this was a political party rally on any matter, the numbers would have been much, much, much more huge. Does the numbers make any difference for you?
No, absolutely not. I think let's be clear on this. I do not share that sentiment. I do not think that the responsibility about fixing this problem should now become a young people's problem. We shouldn't look for the fact that those who are duty bearers have failed us to now become that the fact that young people did not show up, it means that they are not serious. They have been serious. They have been knocking on this. There are many times where they have been on the streets in their numbers. And so there's a sense of desperation, there's a sense of maybe losing the belief that duty bearers can care about it. So it's not their problem. It's the fact that we have elected people to fix this problem, and they must fix it.
Thank you very much, Oliver Bakovoma. All best. And so that's Oliver Bakovoma explaining to me what is going to be today. Prior to today, we had a certain information that petitions may be presented at the Jubilee House. Oliver Bakovoma, who is leading this protest, says that is not going to happen, and there's not going to be any protest today. What do you expect to happen with this march today?
Today, 22nd of September, right? Last year, 22nd of September, we got arrested. About 52 hours, we got arrested. I was coming back from Catholic Holy Mass, my church dress, white with my towel on my neck. We got bungled like criminals. They spent 2 days in Odoko cell, no water, no food. Tuesday, 24th September, we were arraigned in Accra Circuit Court 6. 11 of us were sent to Insawam prison, myself inclusive. As I speak to you, one of our comrades is currently running mad. He goes from one scavenge baller to another to be looking for food. One of our comrades is currently mad. One of our comrades, Daniel J, lost his business. He sells these foreign birds together with monkeys, close to 37. The foreign birds, by the time he came back from Insawam prison, everything died. Completely went off. The sponsors of Galamsey are well known in this country. The likes of Chamawun to me, the CEO of Akunta Mining, the ex-president who was fingered in the Agyapong gold mafia scandal with Alastair Matthias. Chamawun to me was fingered in Professor Frimpong Boate's Galamsey reports together with some of the NDC guys. I expected this government, upon assumption of office, to actually go after these guys, immediately call for their prosecution. In any serious jurisdiction, these guys that are the cause of this environmental genocide should have been in prison. They are going after the little ones in the pits. They are not the sponsors of Galamsey. The real sponsors of Galamsey, I saw them at Ghana Mon 8. I was there. when we lost Omani Buama, may he so rest in peace, was going on this saying Galamsey purpose mission. I saw them. They were all wearing black bags, shedding crocodile tears. Like I said, in any serious jurisdiction, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo should have been in prison by now.
That is a former president that you are accusing of illegal man, and you say he should be in prison because of illegal man.
He is not bigger than this nation. No single individual is bigger than this nation. He was a former president by our vote. We voted him into power. We voted him to occupy that highly exalted seat. He's a former president, but he will go down in history as the worst president in the history of humanity. A human rights champion, right? Under his tenure, citizens were arrested on a holy Sunday. He is a human rights lawyer. True or false, Abi? Fantastic. In this country, we decided to shield the criminals. So-called, we give them titles. They destroy our livelihood, and we clap for them. We cannot say it as it is. We have a cathedral hall of $97 million hanging in there. $97 million can be used to build a better hospital to treat those who have been affected with Galamsey with kidney problems. Okay? So we are calling on Mr. President, just as when he was in opposition, he was championing for a state of emergency. I saw a video of Emmanuel Kofi-Boa championing state of emergency, same as Sam George. Look, we also champion the same thing. They should declare state of emergency in all Galamsey mining sites, revoke every small-scale mining license that were issued as far back as 15 years ago. They should all be abolished. They should revoke all.
Thank you very much. And so that is some of the demands that are coming in. Revocation of some mining license, LI 2462, the matters having to do with a declaration of a state of emergency. Of course, we heard from the president when he spoke at the media encounter, talk about how we have not gotten there. That is a determination on whether or not there must be a state of emergency when it comes to illegal mining. He did not believe that we are quite there. But yesterday at this vigil, speaker after speaker took turns to criticize the president on that score and asked him to do best and declare a state of emergency. And all of that has not been done. And so a couple of those demands are going to be made. The numbers, I can just count a little under 30 or 40. But like you heard Oliver Bakovamo say, for him it's not about the numbers, it's about the symbolism of what they are doing. It's about being able to step out here and speak out in unison, let the country know that illegal mining continues to be an important issue of national conversation that must be had. Let me speak to Ralph. And also, Ralph, the process is just about to get underway. The numbers don't seem so encouraging. Do you think that the young people and all other persons are getting the seriousness with which Galamsey is and joining this movement that you and your colleagues are on?
We thank John Dramani Mahama so much. That's the least I can say. I think that John Dramani Mahama has exhibited that kind of leadership that Ghanaians can clearly see that fix the country people are not making sense. It is not true that Galamsey is destroying our water bodies. It is not true that our water bodies are being destroyed. All that has been happening on the media, on our platforms, you know, it's not true. Galamsey is really not really in a deplorable state as we call it. So we thank the president. He should keep it up. But all that we are saying is that those that think that this is what will call for some level of, you know, enmity or shaming the government or anything. So remember that I have here. Yeah. You can hit me today.
But remember, the future awaits all of us.
That's the least I can say.
That's the least you can say. Thank you very much, Ralph. And he's part of the organizers for this protest, talking about how things are going to go. So pretty shortly, the protest march is going to start. We are at the Akramo Junction, the bus stop. That is Spanner Junction, where the protest is going to move right from here to the Jubilee House, where it will conclude. We've heard from Oliver Bakovamo, who says they are not going to present a petition. It's not their thing. They know when it comes to matters of illegal mining, it is public knowledge that the devastation that is being caused, and they do not have to present a petition for the government or any public institution for that matter to get to know that illegal mining is a serious matter that have to be tackled. So they will just undertake this protest march, end at Jubilee House, and then they will terminate, and then hopefully the message would have gone down enough for the government, the president, and everyone to know that illegal mining continues to destroy our rivers and they demand urgent action. And so, for the team back in the studio, this is how things are going here as the protests sing some chants. Let me take you to them and you hear some of the things they are saying. So yeah, they are just mentioning a couple of the erstwhile government officials and asking them to live up to the words and the kind of things they said in the lead up to the 2024 election. They do not believe that the government is treating this matter seriousness, despite conceding that the government is relatively new and therefore a couple of the slack that they didn't give the previous government, they are going to give that. But they are going to continue up until the government decides that this is a serious matter that must be dealt with. So that is the situation here at the Spanner Junction, where the protest march is just about to begin. Just about a dozen of the protesters now available, and they are going to march up onto Jubilee House.
Excellent work done, Kweku. Thank you so much for bringing us that update from the Okramo. Now, away from that, peaceful assembly is a constitutional right and should be protected. Ghana's laws demands this, and human rights organizations like Amnesty International have, on several occasions, called on the police and the courts to respect that right and only limit it where strictly necessary, proportionate and also lawful. But to what extent have these calls been heeded? There's more in this Hotline documentary, Protect the Protest, originally produced by Amnesty International Ghana.
Ghana police is breaking the law and denying us our right of simple movement.
If you look at our history, both what survives of the long pre-colonial period, even before the establishment of formal colonial rule, women were always there in the positive action campaign. Some women went to prison, and yet the way we teach our history, we don't bring these things out at all.
I participated in a protest by women seeking protection during a period when there was a serial killer.
I was frustrated because the lights were constantly off all the time. I remember one evening I went on Twitter and I tweeted, "Doomsday must stop."
They ripped my dresser pass and I'm on TV in my bra.
The position of the protester might one day become the norm.
Meanwhile, the opposition New Patriotic Party is asking President Mahama to proffer new alternatives to combat illegal mining. Here's Jacqueline Ansomayaboa's report after the NPP visited the Kwanyako treatment plant, which has become unwholesome due to activities of illegal miners.
Standing at the banks of the Anyinsu River in Kwanyako, the water now runs a fake brown. A few minutes walk into town, residents are struggling to cope. From boreholes and wells that produce visibly dirty water to food vendors lamenting the impact on their trade. The once dependable river has become a burden instead of a blessing. One visibly shaking elderly resident told JoyNews,
"I am Papa. I am because of this now in Sudan.
It's moye day. Mo say moye day ediane mujari.
Yawo oko office do bana. Be na hona. Samson is a why that muscle. The whole central. One of Samson. I am penning from Papa Yankee.
We once drank this water, But today, we cannot even bathe with it. We vote for leaders, yet they do not act in our best interest.
Everything we have. Hey, look.
Another resident preparing to bathe with water from a well explains she has no choice but to boil and treat the brownish water with alum before use.
But you see, the Moabim, to soon to see the end. Yes, Sabay on Shamayan. So no, more Munja was Galamsey for a most sense. It's one Ebula, it's Bula and a chronic color in Bula, Nassisa, yes, sir. It's so Yamiadum, and Mampoqua Bedomian, Boho too. You are high, yes, sir. Did you drive the
So that is it over there. You can take a closer look. That is so she's going to bath. She has to boil it before. Yes, that is from the borehole. She has to boil it before. So every day you have to boil it before.
Yes.
Say, Ifra, is it going to be clean? A clean kakra.
Along a gum before and Sana Makudare.
Oh, okay. It has a boiling. No, Odi alum nigum na kala nini take kakra.
After boiling the water, I add alum just to make it a bit clearer. Amidst the community's frustration, politicians have also waded into the debate. Director of Communications for Dr. Baumia's campaign, Dennis Miracles Abwaje, speaking at the Kwanyako treatment plant, called on the government to propose fresh solutions to the Galamsey menace.
And simply telling the Galamseyers that if they manage to get the gold, whether through foul or fair means, he is ready to buy them. Again, he confirmed through his press engagement that indeed he could be buying gold from Galamseyers to as much as $4 billion out of the $6 billion he has exported. That for us, we believe, is a cause for concern. Because if the president is giving us an indication that he could be buying illegal gold from criminals and exporting, and that is what he's anchoring his government's transformation plan on, then we cannot trust and believe that he is going to put measures in place to end Galamsey. Because should he succeed at ending Galamsey, what he is telling us is that he may be running short of $6 billion, $4 billion out of $6 billion possible exports. We are begging, pleading, and appealing to the president and the NDC government that we beg him he should prioritize our lives and the environment over money. And that we are not interested in how much money he is getting from these criminals. If you want to move away from the data to how these things can be proven with the impact, that is where we are standing now. The fact that the Kwanyako water treatment plant for the first time have had a cost to shut down the water plant. The fact that the people of Kwanyako, Agoda East, Agoda West, Gomoa Central, and close to 11 districts do not have water to drink and do not have water to even wash their things, it's evidence enough to show that the situation has worsened. And we are sure that now that we have presented this to the government, they will take some decisive action and not continue to repeat the same old strategies they spoke against.
As the Anyesi River continues to flow muddy, residents of Kwanyako and surrounding towns are left to grapple with water scarcity and health risk. For them, the fight against Galamsey is no longer a political debate. It is a question of survival.
But at the end of the day, residents are asking, until when will this water continue to be this thick brown? They are calling on leaders, they are calling on the government to ensure that this very area, that is the Kwanyako area, they have potable water here to use.
For Joy News, I'm Jacqueline and Sama Yaboa.
Away from that, the largest opposition party is rebuilding, and delegates will soon decide who leads the party in 2028. Now, beyond personalities, this race is about answers: illegal mining and the environment, jobs and the cost of living, party unity and credibility with voters. This morning, we're testing ideas, not slogans. We'll ask about the NPP's record on Galamsey and what would change if Kennedy Agyapong's given the nod. And my guest is Kwesi Kwarteng, spokesperson for Kennedy Agyapong. You're welcome, sir.
Morning to you.
Good morning to you too. So let's start simply. I'm going to start by asking what you think is the single clearest change Mr. Agyapong would bring that Ghanaians would feel in, say, a year.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me say that I just watched the footage which was just played, and I've been away for a while, and I must take the opportunity to commend my good brother, Dennis Miracles Abuaje, the entire team for holding the fort, and of course holding the NDC to accountable when it comes to the Galamsey conversation. I mean, as a government, certainly when you are coming into an office, you campaign based on certain policies and ideas. If you recall, one of the tools that the NDC weaponized was the Galamsey fight, which I think going forward, at no point should politicians ever do that again. When we weaponize the fight against Galamsey, against ourselves, and look into our faces and say that Mr. Akufo-Addo was a problem. Today, Akufo-Addo is no longer in power, and it appears, and successfully so, that the problem of Galamsey or the Galamsey menace has rather even increased and escalated. Just 1 year in power. And of course, we do not expect the worst, but from the trajectory, if you look at it, just supposing from what they said they are going to do, clearly you realize that I'm not sure they've even done even a percentage of it. I mean, the whole of last night up to today, I have had the opportunity to review the campaign manifesto of the NDC. And like I indicated, the campaign based on those policies and ideas on how they are going to address the Galamsey. If you look at even the abridged form of their campaign manifesto, page 61, for instance, they outline how they are going to do it. So I was trying to check whether maybe the comprehensive manifesto too, they may have something different on the approach they are going to use to solve Galamsey. And it appears it's the same. But just a quick one before I even go into what Kennedy Agyapong is going to do when he gets the opportunity. I take you to some of the few remarks that the NDC made in their manifesto in relation to the fight against Galamsey. And of course, I mean, Ghanaians are watching, just a way of reminder, so that if President Mahama has also forgotten, we quickly have to reprint a copy of his manifesto for him so that he can check. One was to place a ban on the new mining activities in forest reserves. You are media guys, so I'm sure you can be able to update us on it. To place a ban on the new mining activities in forest reserves. That is page 61 of his own manifesto, that abridged format. And if he wants to refer to the comprehensive manifesto, to page 76. Amend the mineral and mining law to impose stiffer punishment for mining in water bodies. As of now, in this one, to score him 0, there is nothing that has been done on it. Decentralized regulatory and licensing processes for artisanal miners. First of all, we don't even know who the artisanal miners are, the data on the artisanal miners, where they operate, where they work, and whether or not such a regulatory framework that supports decentralization has also been done. Resource Geological Survey Department more prioritized geological investigation. Clearly, I mean, if you look at some of these things that has been outlined in their manifesto, I mean, it's so clear that the manifesto was just outsourced to some professor in the university to just write it. Because at the end of the day, you cannot just suppose the manifesto, what is written in the manifesto, to actual implementation that we are seeing on the ground. Set up a new Ghana Gold Board to regulate small-scale mining, provide support services, concession viability, blah, 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 blah. But you realize that right now, if you look at the mandate of the Gold Board, for instance, it's not really addressing Galamsey. Rather, they are into merchandising of gold. And that itself is also creating another problem in this way. That is the Cobra effect. They also spoke about use of AI, geofencing, GPS tracking of excavators to locate and monitor small-scale mining, illegal activity. They spoke about the repeal of the LI 2462, ban illegal mining and new mining activities in forest reserves. I think so far it is also important that in as much as they fail to implement all of this, at least we also have to commend them for the Blue Water Initiative. At least that one was also a campaign promise. I mean, to be fair to them, they've initiated it, but of course that alone is not enough. You can see it will be obvious, it's obviously ineffective and also inefficient. I mean, we look at this water blue gas, logistically, clearly they are constrained in terms of their capacity. And I am even against even that approach of solving Galamsey. So you don't need to commission those guys to be able to tell Ghana Police Service, to be able to tell the DC in that particular constituency that there is a Galamsey going on. Of course, if you speak to them, the argument is that they are not really going to do anything sophisticated. All they are going to do is to relay information to government machinery and government agencies to be able to, they use the term blow whistle. But I'm saying that there is always a DC, there is a police, there is a government machinery, there is BNI, there is national security. Unfortunately, they waste all their resources on Abronye and other irrelevant issues instead of focusing on the fight against Galamsey. So clearly, this is their own promise that they made in their own manifesto. I am yet to see one that they fully implemented or they've even implemented. But of course, I mean, I also have to be reasonable to them. One will ask that they just came into power. It's barely 9 months. They have a 4-year mandate. It is true, they have a 4-year mandate, but reasonably, there is a reasonable expectation of them. If you have a 4-year mandate and you give promises and assurances on how you are going to address a certain menace or certain challenge, which is very prevalent, ordinarily we expect that within your first year, at least you'll be able to fight it within some reasonable percentage, some 20 to 25%. But if you look at that, this, and in terms of all how they've listed so far, is only the Blue Water Guard that appears to be their only implementation plan. So on the score of even 1 to 100, I don't think they've done more than 3% as a party in terms of the fight against Galamsey. But for me, I mean, beyond the holding them into account, I have gotten to a stage where I genuinely wish that the NDC will be able to address the Galamsey menace. Because whichever way, I mean, Ghana is the only country that we have. And we are almost getting to a point where we are almost institutionalizing and rationalizing some of the menace that we have in this country. For instance, I have always maintained that when it comes to compliance and enforcement and regulatory issue, as a people, we've lagged behind. If you look at the enforcement of road safety regulations, extremely poor. We've not done so well. If you look at the enforcement when it comes to sanitation issues, we've not done so well. When it comes to basic enforcement of laws, even in our own country, I mean, coupled with the recent approach of governments, consistent approach of trying to weaken the judiciary and everything. So enforcement is really a problem. And I genuinely hope that we don't get to a stage where we institutionalize a situation just like the cholera, just like the flood, the perennial flooding, just like the annual deaths that we are witnessing on our roads, and then almost get to a situation where Galamsey also becomes so normalized. So we are calling for action. It's a humble appeal that in case the president has forgotten, President Mahama has forgotten, this is his own manifesto. If he needs a copy, we'll print it under your cameras, we'll go and deliver it to him and remind him. So on that score, I feel that he's not demonstrated that goodwill. He's not demonstrated. The only thing that he's demonstrated when it comes to the fight against Galamsey is inertia, because he appeared to know almost everything. President Akufo-Addo did this, President Akufo-Addo did that, President Akufo-Addo is responsible for Galamsey. If you recall, and if you were, of course, you are a media person, you, I'm sure, have been monitoring the media space. When he said that there were high-profile people in Akufo-Addo's government, politically exposed persons who were doing Galamsey, I want to ask him whether these same high-profile people, those names that he bundled around, mentioned some names that they were doing Galamsey, I want to know if they are still there, the politically exposed persons. Because obviously now he is in power. President Akufo-Addo obviously now, as they initially laid those unfortunate and unsuccessful schemes, obviously by now he's not owing any concessions. Why is the Galamsey still going on? But beyond all this accountability check that we are doing and the reality check that we are doing, we are also pleading on him that it has an implication on our national security, on our national safety, on public health in particular. And we are calling on him that we want to see an action. This is not the usual politics. I want us to graduate into a stage where the discussion on Galamsey is not only pivoted on how we want to make a certain government look bad. No, like they did to us. That's not what my interest is. But I want to get to a stage where we assess government based on its performance and its commitment when it comes to the fight against Galamsey. Right. And gradually, President Mahama is losing the good role, especially when it comes to this fight. But I think on a substantive question as to what Kennedy Agyapong is going to do different, no, it's important to address it. For me, if you look at the whole menace of Galamsey, it just holistically can be translated into one problem. And it has more to do with having the political will to enforce regulations and ensure compliance. If indeed there is an enforcement of regulations and compliance, I am not sure we may be having we may be in this situation that we find ourselves. And there's a more reason why you need that bold leadership, that honest leadership, that leadership who can challenge the status quo and say that enough is enough. Instead of even investing in Galamsey, I am a leader who believes that there is a link between socio-economic transformation and agriculture. I am a leader who now believes that the new Galamsey should be tourism. And that's what Agyapong is going to bring on board. Instead of focusing on Galamsey, he may channel the country's energy into tourism, into mass production through agriculture. And that I believe, and I'm very confident that is going to tend the socio-economic transformation of our country.
Great, but because you mentioned Galamsey, let's still dwell on that topic.
Yes.
I mean, your candidate has bluntly criticized his own party, their shortcomings and wrongdoings, and vowed to tackle issues of corruption, favoritism, but particularly, let's take a look at Galamsey.
Yeah.
It worsened, and the previous NPP government.
What data shows? It's speculative.
I'm sure you'll agree with me.
No, it's speculative.
But your candidate, like I said, has vowed to tackle it. What are his brilliant ideas in tackling that?
No, that's what I'm saying, that in Galamsey menace, you see, let me put it this way. Like all sectors of our economy and all sectors of our country, our problem has always been systemic. If you roll the time back to, say, in commerce time, the challenges that face Ghanaians there will be almost similar or same as today. For instance, I spoke about flooding. It's been perennial. Is that not the case? Every year, Greater Accra floods. Now, in recent times, we are witnessing parts of Kumasi also flooded. When it comes to our sanitation issue, it's the same. When it comes to road safety issues, it's the same. We have almost normalized the number of deaths that we record on our roads, to the extent that if you are an average traveler and consistent traveler in this country, I mean, hypothetically, your chances of survival on our roads is about 30%. We've normalized unemployment. We've normalized a lot of things. But I'm saying that you don't require any mystical ideas from any politician to solve Galamsey or to solve some of these problems. A lot of the problems has always been that our general performance on enforcement and compliance has been low. So all you need is the courage and the political will of that leader to say that under my leadership, there's not going to be any Galamsey. End of story. Stop Galamsey. Mahama spoke about instituting and passing state of emergency. What is preventing him? State of emergency, especially now that even state of emergency is even an executive instrument. You don't even need so much of the input of parliament. As soon as you pass the EI, automatically it goes through parliament, and at the end of the day, the EI then becomes mature, and state of emergency then can be enforced.
So what
is the political will?
Mr. Kennedy Agyapong's
is that he is having the will to ensure compliance. If there are legal frameworks that ensures that we should not mine in water bodies, Kennedy Agyapong is going to make sure. So
that's novel.
No, it's not about novel. It's about implementation. Our problem has nothing to do with ideas. Our problems as a country has nothing to do with ideas. Our problems as a country has to do more with implementation and compliance. And for me, I have gotten to a stage as a Ghanaian where I'm so tired with the ideas. We have so much beautiful ideas about how to solve Galamsey. Who doesn't know how to solve Galamsey? Who in this country doesn't know how to solve Galamsey? For instance, even, I mean, with hindsight and just off mind, I can tell you that if you ban, for instance, the import of cyanide, you ban the import of mercury, how are they going to even extract the substance even in the first place? But you don't have the political will to do that. Politicians have never had the political will to do that. And it stems from a lot of variables that even weaken the politicians themselves. Because, first of all, let's even ask ourselves of the political financing regime that we have in this country. How are we auditing people's lifestyle? And these are Galamsey guys who've gotten so much money, sponsors, politicians, influences almost every aspect of our lives. And so the menace has been not only political, it's also been cultural, it's also been social, and it's a menace that will require courage and the political will, and attitude and the discipline of a leader to say that enough is enough.
All right.
I am going to end it, and it's ending through compliance and ensuring that whatever legal framework we obey.
Okay, let's move away from Galamsey and bring another topic and talk about the fact that your candidate is touring. He's currently touring some of the regions in Ghana, meeting the grassroots members and all. What are some of the concerns they have been sharing with you and the team? Yes, Ken recently went on a unity tour. I always read that about as a unity tour because we are not oblivious of the current state of the party. We feel that until we attain unity as a party,
there is no way we are going to make any good effort in terms of even coming to power. And it is a more reason why, as a party, our base, we need to strengthen, re-strategize, and of course, it all boils down to coming together with one accord and in one unison, and so that we can be able to, position ourselves well for the 2028 elections. Thankfully, the NDC has also started messing up with their own internal issues. Chairman said he's starting his thank you tour. Chief of Staff has also started his mad campaign through his weekend keep fit. So
what are the concerns the delegates are raising?
No, I'm coming there. The question is still valid. I'm coming there. I'm just laying a foundation. So
we're running against.
That's fine. Then let me quickly switch. So yes, bottom line is that it looks so good for us as a party for us to come into power in 2028.
How's that?
We've met them. A lot of them are now listening to the call and concerns of Ghanaians. That when you bring Kokode-Nwamase, he will be voted for. You see, I've always maintained that there is a difference between visibility and marketability. Somebody can be visible, yes, that product will not be bought. In the case of Kokode-Nwamase, he is visible because of presence. He's always present, he's always advocating, he's always fighting for the grassroots. But even beyond the visibility, he's also marketable. Why? Because marketability in this political context means acceptability. And you realize that a lot of Ghanaians trust him based on his past record and what he's lived his life for, in terms of his job creation initiative, in terms of his advocacy, in terms of the character traits that he can look into your face and say that, look, I'm not going to allow this. This is the kind of leadership that Ghanaians are aiming for. And we have done Western North, we have done Bono, we have done Bono East, we have also done Ahafo. And I can confidently tell you that from the indication and the signals we are picking from the ground, 31st January, God willing, 2020.
So you feel very confident about the delegates?
We'll win.
Why then have you formed an anti-election rigging squad to, guard the integrity of the primaries? Because that obviously implies that you believe, or he is worried about the skewed, playing field.
No, it's not a matter of worry. Like you rightly said, we want to protect the sanctity and integrity of the election results. And what essentially means is that we want to let the will and the intention of the voters manifest. The party will do its best. But there is nothing wrong if we also want to complement the efforts of the party.
But there must be a reason.
The reason is that we want to, at the end of the voting, whatever votes that Dr. Agyapong had, based on what the delegates decide, we want that votes to be calculated for him. If the delegates vote a number for Dr. Bawumia, he should get that number of votes. Kokode-Nwamase, Dr. Duchum, Kwanyako, whoever, whatever votes that you have, we want you to have it. So that, let's even assume in compilation of votes and numbers, sometimes there can be administrative, there can be clerical errors. And that is why we are saying that we want to avoid all those things. We are going to ensure that there is sanity and integrity of the electoral process. It's not a way of necessarily being rebellious or thinking of a negative or unfair process, but it's an assurance to the MPP delegates that their votes will be protected, and at the end of the day, their will be what will be manifested. So, it's just a way to protect the process.
So, peradventure, the primaries happens, and unfortunately, it doesn't go to your candidate. What then happens?
I'm not sure protecting vote integrity automatically means that your candidate must win. But I'm saying that I'm very confident. We conduct a lot of researches, we speak to them, we engage delegates, and we know where we are heading to. I'm so confident, extremely confident, that Kokode-Nwamase should not be getting anything less than 64 to 67%. I'm so wildly confident. But I'm saying that in doing so, you also need to put measures to protect the vote. And of course, the concerns that you are raising, people have raised similar concerns. For instance, if you look at, let's say, the last primaries, there are some constituencies where certain candidates in the primaries, for instance, had, say, 100%. But in the general election, even though they are MPP delegates, they recorded zeros in the same policies that they had 100%. It raises concerns for other people. But even to us, that is not the big issue. Our concern is to protect the sanctity and the integrity of the results, so that every person, every candidate who contested will get his right.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng is a spokesperson for the Kennedy Agyapong campaign team. Let's break now for business.
Many thanks for staying with us. I am Michelle Lejokum. Now let's settle for some business news. Economic analyst at Data Bank Research Wilson Zilivu believes further policy rate cuts could be possible if inflation expectations are well anchored and the cedi remains stable. He says these conditions will be critical in shaping credit flows and supporting long-term economic growth.
Currently, the NPR is at 21.5%, and our projections at Data Bank, we expect it to hover around 9%, plus or minus 2 percentage points. All things being equal, the committee can implement about 300 basis point cuts with real rates still in positive levels. What that means is that the returns on loans will not be completely eroded by the rising prices on the market. We don't expect demand pressures to resurface soon, considering what we are actually seeing on the market in terms of high NPL. On the side of fiscal imbalance, it appears fairly anchored. We've seen sharp declines in the risk-free rate, or should I say relatively risk-free rate, which obviously means less cost to government. And I think most importantly, what we should look out for is the cedi's performance. All things being equal, if that is well anchored, and the outlook on inflation or inflation expectation is well anchored, it gives room for further cuts to stimulate economic growth.
Away from that, the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry says it will transform all industrial parks in the country into specialized economic zones. According to the sector minister and board chair of the Ghana Free Zone Authority, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajari, the move will attract more enterprises into free zones area, boost industrial growth and improve non-traditional exports. She spoke at the 30th anniversary launch of the Ghana Free Zones Authority.
The Ghana Free Zones Authority is aligned with the Feed the Industry policy, promoting integrated agribusiness whole chain through transformation of cocoa, cashew, fruits, shea, and vegetables into higher value exports. This ensures not only foreign exchange earning, but also direct benefits to farmers and local communities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Free Zones program continues to catalyze industrialization by encouraging value addition and value extension. This reduces Ghana's over-reliance on primary commodities and positions the country as a manufacturing and logistics hub in Africa. This aligns with government's broader agenda of building a self-reliance economy that is export-driven, technology-enabled, and inclusive. Over the years, Ghana has pursued bold policies to position itself as a competitive hub for trade and investment. However, ladies and gentlemen, to sustain the scale these achievements we have, we must evolve. This is why my ministry is championing the transformation from export processing zones to specialized economic zones, which has become imperative to embrace a more modern, inclusive, and flexible model of industrial development.
This is all we have for you for business on the news desk. But for more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com. So we have stories, T-bills auction, government records over subscription after a week of missing targets. There's more news right there when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Noella Karinyali.
Hi, my love.
How are you spending your holiday?
Well, I have midday, and then right after I'm going home to rest because a girl is tired. But thank you so much for bringing us business.
Thank you for having me.
That was the adorable Michelle Lejokum with business. For more of our local and international stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com. We're back at midday with JM Today. Thank you so much.